Well, welcome to our Divine Comedy series here, where we're looking into those places where Jesus uses humor in order to teach. My name is Kevin Young. I have the privilege of serving here at Christ Table as lead clergy. If you'd like to know more about Christ Table, right there, that's where you need to go to find out more about us. Sign up for our email list there, www.christstable.today. If you'd like more information about this study in particular, also very easy to do, go.christstable.today/divine comedy. There at that URL, you can download a study guide that's going to give you background context culturally for today's passage, as well as all of these studies. It will also give you some questions and some opportunities to think and reflect in order to take the content a little bit further and apply it more directly to you. If you would like a printed copy of that PDF, a nice bound version of that, you can get those there as well. There's more information. Just click on the button there that says get the box, and it comes with a set of spiritual resources that goes with this study. One other thing that I want to make sure that you're aware of: if you have difficulty with the church, with your faith, if you're struggling right now, if you're disappointed, disillusioned, discouraged, or done with Christianity, with Christians, then this book right here, Reconstruct Your Faith, is a phenomenal resource for you or for anybody who's navigating those questions and trying to decide what you do, where to go, what's up and what's down. You can find out more information about this as well as where to get it at that URL right there, drkevinyoung.com. So in this series over the last 7 weeks, we've been spending time looking into Jesus' teaching and the ways in which he used humor, turns of phrases, funny words, symbols, and sometimes even awkward circumstances in order to teach and educate people about the way of God. Today, as we close things out, we're going to hit one about Vultures Gathering in Matthew chapter 24, verses 26 through 28. So Jesus is speaking about the future, the end times. He does this on occasion, but oftentimes we really have misinterpreted those things that are going on there and that Jesus is saying. So Jesus, Matthew chapter 24, if someone tells you, hey, look, the Messiah is out in the desert, that was kind of an end times, things are coming to a head. Or somebody says, hey, look, he's hiding over here. Don't believe those things. Stop listening to the folks who are the crazy crackpots talking about being left behind, or all of these things in Revelation, or the end of the world, or Armageddon. Don't believe it. For as the lightning flashes in the east and shines to the west, so it will be when the Son of Man comes. Yes, there is going to be things that happen, but nobody knows when it's going to happen, how it's going to happen, what it's going to look like. And the things that many of us think that we know about it are just plain wrong. But Jesus says one thing is for certain: just as the gathering of vultures shows there is a carcass nearby, so there are signs that indicate that the end is near. So Jesus here, and it might be difficult to see, has really told some funny illustrations here to help pull together this idea of what he wants to teach and what he wants to say about end times, about the things that are going to be coming up down the road in the future. First, he uses this funny way of describing how people who focus way too much on end times seem and act and talk. I grew up in this fundamentalist, independent Baptist circle that was always focused on end times. We were always focused on what was going to happen in Armageddon and in Revelation, and spend all of our time talking about that rather than all of the other things that Jesus said that we should be talking about. And we instilled fear in ourselves and instilled fear in other people as well. In fact, we tried to use fear to motivate people to believe what we believed on those things because we were so fearful of it. So one of the things that is kind of common here that we might miss out on is that there is a long-standing pattern in rabbinic literature before Jesus of talking about divine judgment. And some of the language and the things that Jesus speaks about here, we might be like, well, this frame of reference doesn't really help us. It doesn't help me to understand what's going on anywhere here, to talk about vultures and carcasses and somebody hiding in the desert. And it just it doesn't help me. But Jesus isn't speaking to you. Jesus is speaking to the cultural context in which he finds himself. And so we have to kind of dive into that context just a little bit to try to understand what's going on and then glean what we can that is helpful for us as a part of that. So, one of the things that has kind of driven this idea that Jesus speaks about here of vultures and carcasses and all of that is a line from Job where it's speaking about wisdom. And this idea of wisdom, is it your wisdom? God essentially says to the people there in Job, and is it your wisdom that makes the hawk soar and spread its wings towards the south? Is it your wisdom that causes the vultures and the hawks to live on cliffs and to make its home on a distant rocky crag? From there, it hunts its prey, keeping watch with piercing eyes. Its young gulp down blood. Where there's a carcass, there you're going to find one of these birds of prey, one of these meat-eating birds, one of these vultures that prey on carcasses. The answer here is obviously no. None of Job's wisdom, none of Job's friends or wife's wisdom or involvement can make, break, or cause any of those things to happen, stop, or continue. Nothing that Jesus' hearers could do could make, break, or cause any of those things to continue or stop either when we think about judgment or end times or the world around them. You can only control so much, and really the only thing that you can truly control is maybe yourself, and most of us even have difficulty controlling ourselves, right? And so for us, it's kind of the same things. I think that growing up, so many of the cultural, religious contexts that I grew up in thought that we could somehow or other control or manufacture some sort of end time situation for us and what it looked like for us, as well as for other people, good and bad, by knowing we could control. By being wiser, we would have more of a grasp on what was going to happen and how to manipulate it to our own advantage and oftentimes to others' disadvantage. And none of us really want to think of ourselves or religious people, especially our religious people, of working towards the disadvantage of others. But it's pretty common. So common as to be the norm. We all do it. So Jesus here is essentially pointing out that you have no control over the end times. You can know a little, but almost nothing about it. And so the best thing that you can do is simply be ready and do what you can to help others be ready. For us, that meant make sure that they had salvation and weren't being raptured or left behind. But Jesus, remember, is living in this context where Revelation isn't the way many of us have perceived it, that the whole world is going to be destroyed and we're all going to be sucked or vacuumed out of here into this cloud in heaven somewhere else. No, if you really read the text of the entire book, not just Revelation, but Revelation as well, everything happens here on this planet. Everything will be renewed, restored. Everything will be set back to its default in Eden, a place that is perfect, a place that is peaceful, a place where mercy and justice and God are central. The opposite of that is death. And wherever you find death or deadly things, there are going to be vultures, there are going to be people there feeding on those things. So as Jesus comes at this, really what this is a text about is judgment and the inevitability of judgment. And this would have made this line here, would have made the folks who I grew up with really, really, yes, judgment. We get to talk about judgment. We get to talk about hell, eternal torment. We get to talk about people getting what they deserve. Not me, I don't get what I deserve. I pray the prayer, but everybody else getting what they deserve. All those people who have wronged me, all of my enemies. But that's really not the way judgment is in in Scripture, in context of Scripture. Judgment is the setting of things right, and really the setting things back to the default operating system. It's restoring judgment. It's using mercy and grace to bring about a return back to Eden, a return back to the garden. It's setting things aright again, not so much punishing and retribution, or retributive justice. Judgment is inevitable, Jesus essentially says here. As inevitable as vultures to dead carcasses are inevitable, judgment is inevitable as well. But just like the guy who's telling you, hey, this prophet's out in the desert, why don't you go follow him? Or this cult leader over here is doing this, and the end times are here, go follow him. You know, the end of the world is near, hold that sign. Jesus says, as inevitable as that guy, that crazy guy is, judgment is inevitable as well, but it's not going to look like what he thinks is going to look like. And judgment is no laughing matter. And I think that if we were to have a theme for this entire series of weeks of Divine Comedy, this is something that Jesus has been trying to get to us, or through to us and to his listeners over and over and over again, is you continue to allow your judging ways and your judging self to get in the way of living in a way that is compassionate to other people, that is treating marginalized and oppressed people in a way that God has specifically said to treat them. We allow all of these fits of anger and rage and hostility and dislike for other people to get in the way. And these things are no laughing matter. Don't use God. Don't use religion. Don't use holy texts in order to pronounce judgment on other people. If you're going to do that, use it to pronounce judgment upon yourself for the way that you have treated other people. Because the way you treat other people is no laughing matter. Your inability to give mercy to others while drinking mercy yourself from a spigot is no laughing matter. Your inability to provide justice, godly justice, not retributive justice, but justice that raises people up, is no laughing matter. Yeah, I can make you laugh. Jesus says, telling you stories and making you and others feel awkward and uncomfortable about the ways in which you've missed the mark. But at the end of the day, the way God expects you to behave and live is no laughing matter. And stop paying attention to other people. Start paying attention to yourself, so that in the end, in judgment, the joke isn't on you. Well, it's been good to be with you today, and it has been very good to be with you through this entire series. I'm going to miss it. I look forward to the next study with you. If you would like to go back through the points in this study that you missed, or go back from the beginning and start and see them all of them are archived wherever you're watching this. And you can also get that curriculum at go.christstable.today/divinecomedy. Wherever the road takes you, may it rise to meet you. May you find Jesus, and may you see a smile on his face. And may the world around you and the good that you and I are supposed to bring to it never be a laughing matter.